Welcome back to Roy on Rescue. We're going to answer a question from a student who asked, what is an AED? And though they're becoming more and more popular, that's a very good question. So stay tuned to find out what an AED is, what it does, and how it can save a life. So when we're talking about an automated external defibrillator, what we're talking about is a device that's going to send a certain amount of electricity through a person's heart that is not beating normally. Now, sometimes we misunderstand what an AED does, and a lot of times I hear people say, well, an AED is a device that actually shocks the heart and makes it begin beating. In reality, an AED does exactly the opposite. An automated external defibrillator is a device that sends a bolt of electricity or an electrical surge through the heart, ideally from top to bottom, and doing something we call depolarizing the cardiac cells in the heart. That means when a heart is ready to beat, it's normally in a positive state, ready to discharge, and that is done through a chemical electrical action. But we have a heart when it's in fibrillation that's not beating normally. It's wiggling and twitching all over the place, normally because the person has a blockage somewhere in a vessel that's feeding heart muscle. And it's gotten to the point where the heart is aggravated enough that it just rebels and goes into a state of fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia. Those are basically the two major ventricle dysrhythmias that an AED is looking for when it decides to actually fire and discharge the heart muscle fibers all at the same time. I kind of liken it to a really disruptive room full of kindergartners when the teacher walks out of the room and they go nuts. They're on the table and they're throwing paper wads and they're going crazy. Sometimes the classroom can get so nuts they don't even hear when the teacher comes back into the classroom. That's the AV node. The little node inside the heart that actually sends a signal like a conductor to an orchestra to say, it's time to beat, it's time to beat, it's time to beat. But because all of the muscle cells are firing out of unison and they're not working together like an orchestra, they can't even hear the teacher say, it's time to beat. So in certain cases, you need to have a principal walk in and take a big book and slam it on the table and scare all the kids until they sit down. That's kind of what an automated external defibrillator does when it shocks the heart. It stops all of them at the same time in hopes that we were doing good enough CPR, good quality CPR, to keep the heart muscle alive biologically and ready to respond to the surge of electricity that would come naturally from the AV node or another part of the heart. We'll get into that later. It gets a little bit more complex and we don't have the time to go that deep right now. But the automated external defibrillator, when it fires on a heart with CPR in progress within the first couple minutes of cardiac arrest, it has a tremendous survival rate and what we call a conversion rate. It does a great job. AEDs are easy to use, and the more technology that goes into them, they really help us to do even better CPR because they walk us through the steps. So check out the profirstaid.com or the Pro CPR videos and check out AED. It's a free video training and it can help you understand how to use an AED if one's in the area when someone goes down and they're not moving, not breathing, and you believe they're in cardiac arrest. From Roy on Rescue, I hope this helped. Take care, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Keep on rescuing.